All right, I'm going to show you guys what to do if your spray gun is sticking. So let me just kind of go an example of what that is. So if your spray gun, if you're spraying and you're spraying along and all of a sudden you pull in the trigger and you let off the trigger and it keeps spraying and you have to kind of wiggle your trigger like that a bunch of times and then finally it stops, right? So then you're going to shut off your rig, go back, turn everything off. You want to clean out your line because you've got a problem. You know, if you're pulling the trigger and it sticks, every once in a while it'll be like a little bit of oil you can put in here, but it's usually not going to be that. So you can put a little bit of oil down in that, because sometimes it's just the O-rings on the packing. I'll show you what that looks like. On this particular one, it's this little O-ring right here. Sometimes that thing's sticking. Usually it's not that, but sometimes it's that. So you can try a little bit of oil on your Silver Plus gun. It's in this little hole down there, a little bit of oil, like WD-40 or whatever, I don't know, whatever you got laying around, and try that. Usually it doesn't fix it. Usually it's more often this problem we're going to kind of go over now. So once you've got your paint out of your line, and you need to take off this right here, and to do that you need to have the trigger fully pulled. So you have to have all the pressure out of your line. I usually just disconnect the gun, get the gun by itself, pull the trigger in, and then you can take this off while the trigger's in. So to put it back on, you have to have the trigger in too. So you hold the trigger in and you put this on, and then what happens is when you let off the trigger, there's a ball and seat inside here, and we're going to look at that. So you can notice I have the trigger pulled in while I unthread this. If you leave the trigger out, you're going to damage the ball and seat. So right here, let's see if I can get you guys up close enough so you can see. Now, I can't see even, so I've got to use my reading glasses. But you see that ball. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at it off camera. I'll bring you right back in. Okay, then after you've looked at this really carefully, to make sure there's no burrs on it. If there's any little damage, a little burr on there, you're going to need to repack your spray gun, which I'll just show you about that in this video, but we've already looked at that and that looks pretty good. Okay, that thing looks really good. The ball is usually where the wear point is, but you also need to look inside the seat and look to make sure there's not a little place where the paint can escape from there. So you look inside the seat, inspect it. I'll do that off camera and I'll bring you back in. Again, all the spray guns are a little bit different. They have different packings for different ones. This is a Silver Plus. So what other ones are, like the contractor gun, has a similar thing, but it's a ball and seat at the end. This one, because I've inspected that and I see that the ball and seat's in good shape, what I'm going to decide that happened is, to put the brass ring on here, and then I'm going to pull the trigger in, put this back in. Remember, you always pull the trigger in when you're doing this, because like I said, if you're tightening this up, that's spring loaded, that's touching that seat. So when you do your final tightening on this, I have the wrench sitting here, nope, the wrong size. Well, I got the adjustable. Can do it the old-fashioned way. So I hold my trigger in while I'm doing my final tightening. Okay, good to go. So I can let go. And the ball is in the seat correctly. I could test it by blowing through it. Okay. Seems to be okay. What probably happened is a little bit of chunk of paint came from inside the line somewhere or bypassed the filter. This happens, and then we'll go up in here and get stuck between the ball and the seat. Sometimes you can't even get it out until you clean the whole line out with water, take this off again while pulling the trigger. Remove this, clean it all out, get water, clean it out, make sure there's no paint pieces in there. And then what I'll do is I'll actually take the spray line, the end of the spray line. I'm changing my whip right now, so I figured I'll show you this. Take the spray line off of here, turn the rig on, and just hold that thing into the water, so it's going to just prime itself through water, and make sure that I've gotten all the old excess paint. This happens a lot when your spray rig's been sitting around for a while, and just run all the old excess paint or whatever little paint pieces, paint chips and all that out of your line. Or sometimes you have to replace your line, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm putting on a brand new line. So sometimes you have to replace the line because it's old and it has stuff coming apart from all the years of it being in there. That's why I always tell people about every 2 years you change your line, especially you change it before it blows up, right? Isn't that the right way to do it? Don't wait till it blows up and then change it. Replace it every couple of years. If you have an insurance claim from your line blowing up in somebody's house and wiping out their furniture, you don't ever want to do that. It'll be so expensive. You might be out of business by then. So it's better to just go ahead and spend the 40 or 50 bucks or whatever it is for the new line and replace your whip while you're at it. These are really cool. While I'm in this video, I'm going to show you a couple things. So that's how you clean out when you have a problem. Now, I'll show you how to repack the gun in a second. It's really not hard to do. Guys go out and have them done. They spend 50 bucks to have it redone. Not hard. But this is a 6-foot whip. Now what's nice about a 6-foot whip, I don't know if you can see the ground, but I'm trying to look through this. See, I don't know if you can really see that, but the whip is on the ground, right? One end's on the ground and one end is at arm level. And the reason that's nice is having a longer whip hose like that is because you're not carrying around the weight of this heavier line and the knuckle here. Okay, so a lot of people get 3-foot whips, which is great, they're fine, because a lot of times you're holding the whip while you're spraying. You're holding it here. But when you're using a cardboard shield, which is what I use a lot of times, is I'm going to have one hand holding the shield and one hand holding the gun, so I'm carrying that weight, and this enables you to still have control while you're holding a shield. So that's why I use a 6-foot whip. Well, you guys might learn some of the stuff from these videos that will help you. So to change the packings in the gun on a silver gun, they come like this. There's a little tube here, little helper tube, and you slide. I usually put grease around where the O-ring is, and I'll slide it. All I do is grab it. Once I've removed this, with the trigger pulled in, you take this part off and you slide that whole packing piece out. It's all one piece, and you slide the new one in. And they have a little helper tube right here so that if it's difficult to get in, I forget exactly. I usually don't even need to use it, but I can't remember. I think you put the tube on here and you slide it in through the tube and through the one inside all at once. So with this off, you'll put the tube on the end of here and then use that tube to kind of guide it into the hole. And then you just put the trigger back on while the trigger is being held this way with spring load on it. You put the seat back on, because remember, the one part's a needle, this is a needle, and that's the seat. So you put the seat back in with the trigger pulled. It's a little difficult getting it in there. It's very tight because of this O-ring, but again, if you grease it, it's no problem. It usually goes right in. And you want to prime your rig, run the grease, make sure the grease is out of there, and you're done. It's really not hard to do. Doing this, but just remember, the thing to remember is always keep this pulled when you're putting this thing on. That's really the only thing you need to know. All the rest of the stuff. So that's it for the plugged spray gun. The other thing, same thing happens in all of your, there's balls and seats in your spray rig. So in the bottom here, there's a ball and seat for the pickup. There's also a ball and seat in the inside the piston. And your most common things to cause problems while your spray rig won't prime or it won't it won't work, you won't pump, is because one reason is because the ball and seat down here has got a little piece of crap in there. Okay, and the other reason is when inside the piston, the ball and seat inside there gets a little piece of junk in there and it won't pump. So the other things that go bad are the packings. Usually when the packings go bad, you're going to get paint coming out of here. You're going to get just a whole bunch of mess. You're going to see paint coming out of places it shouldn't, and that's when your packings are usually bad. The other things are typically ball and seat. If it's not priming, if it's not, I don't use the prime spray valve. Okay, I just put the paint in the wand in the paint, and I will pull the trigger and turn it on, and that primes the rig. So if it's not priming, some other guys will go, oh, I need to use my prime spray valve. Usually you don't. Usually if it's not priming at that point, you determine maybe you've got a piece of crap in your ball and seat. One of them. There's two ball and seats. There's a ball and seat in the pickup and one inside the piston. One of those has got junk in there usually, or it could be worn. Very less common for it to be worn. Usually it's just junk in there. Paint gets pulled up in the line and makes it no good. So anyway, that's it for that, guys. I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully that helped you if you got something stuck in your gun.